Hello, it's Matt Johnson here, and this is a demo of our Teradek Cube console and our ClearSpot 4G console. And there's a few things I could point out that you want to know when producing videos with the Teradek Cube and the 4G, the Clear 4G hotspot. So I'm connecting into the console remotely right now. You can see this IP address is not a local IP address. It starts with 50. And that means that I've configured the Teradek to take connections from an outside network. So I'm at home and the Teradek box is actually at the office. So when you first load it up, you want to type in this IP address, and this IP address can change. You want to type in the IP address of the ClearSpot, and then you'll get this console, and then type in the password, and then it'll bring up the log into the console. So when you're in the console, it'll be loaded into the desktop, or I'm sorry, dashboard. The Uptake keeps dashboard here. And the first thing we want to look at to see if you have any video input, and the video input is enabled. It is working. It's an auto mode, so it'll try and adjust to whatever you have. And this is the thumbnail of the video right now. The output is the same as the input, which is what we want. Good. I've set the output to 220 kilobits per second, and a frame rate of 60, a keyframe every 60 frames. My auto is disabled to save on bandwidth because I am using a ClearSpot that's in a poor signal location. Down here you can see you can set the bit rate. My bit rate's actually 220, even though it says 192 here. I typed in the bit rate to give it just a little bit more to see if I could see how much bandwidth I could use on the ClearSpot where it's at its current location. So 480p is what you're going to want to use all the time. And this is the part that can go up and down, bit rate. If you're on a wired network, for instance, you can put this up to 1 or 1.5 or 2. But for the ClearSpot, we're pretty much going to be confined between 128 and 768 for the speeds to pick out. So speaking of that, this is the custom mode part of the dashboard, and with more, we'll go over to the encoding. But let's use the encoding off the menu. Let's load up encoding off the menu here, which is video setup, encoder settings. And I'll go through all these real quick just to let you know what they should be at. This should always be high. 300 milliseconds latency is a good default. This should always be disabled. Intro refresh mode disabled. And here's the part where we want to change. Here's the video bitrate we can set. The higher the bitrate, the better the picture will look, and the more information has to send over the hotspot at one time. So depending on the signal strength of the hotspot will determine what bitrate you can pick. If it's a low signal strength or if you're moving, you have to pick out 128. If you're a super good signal and you're not moving, you can go as high as 768. And you'll be able to tell if your bitrate is too high because the video will either not start or it'll start and stop, start and stop. So that's something you have to do before you start transmitting, before you go live, for example, for the event. I have this disabled. This is good around 48 kilobits per second when it's enabled. I have this disabled because right now it's just sort of I call it an overlord cam. It's being used as a security cam, so we don't need audio. These should be always 420p, always 30. This seems to work pretty good at 60. Now this is show title and show time code. This is putting a display on the screen, on the transmission. I normally don't want to do that. I'm doing it because I'm in testing mode here. And it's handy to have the time code, so you can see what time it is, and you can compare the time of what you see on the console versus the time on the client. You can see how far the latency is, how long it's taking to transmit everything. So normally you would want these not checked. And this is the text that displays when you have the show title checked there. So right now I'm displaying 220K. Alright. Once you change the bitrate, I guess that's pretty much the only thing you'd want to change. The bitrate or these check marks, once you change that, you'll want to always apply. Everything you do on the console here needs to be applied before it'll take effect. Alright, let's go over to the other thing we want to know about, but I'm going to cover probably in the next video, is the stream settings. I'll just give you a quick look here, and this is where we do the live stream setup. This is the most important thing here, to have that broadcasting. This will be called start broadcast when you're not broadcasting. So getting it started sometimes it's kind of hairy if you don't have the bit rate and hotspot hotspot capability matched up. One other thing I wanted to look at under the Teradek console was the let's see, which one was it? Coder information, which really is statistics. So here's the status. You can see that we're currently encoding. The bitrate is 223, which is pretty close to my 220 setting. This is the frame rate, pretty close to 30. This is a performance indicator. I'm not sure what it's counting there. And this is the base QP, which I think has something to do with quality. I've seen this higher to be like 52, so 44 I think is probably what it's picking out for this picture. So if you have a more light, then it might be a higher quality. We'll have to see what goes on there. This is how many video frames is encoded. So since I've turned on the broadcast, I've encoded 2,688,509 frames. So 2 million frames at 30 frames per second. You can sort of calculate how long it's been up, which has been many hours, probably over 12 hours, I would think. And so you'll see these counting up when it's turned on. So that's a good indication that it's sending out, because it'll update these every few seconds. Or you can hit refresh if it's not updating. But here we have our JavaScript working, so it's automatically updating. Now the next thing I wanted to go over to, well actually let me stop here and we'll go to the clear spot on the next screen capture to see if this will actually save.